history of the Jeep KJ Cherokee in Australia. The Jeep KJ Cherokee, known as the Liberty KJ in the US, was built as a replacement for the XJ Cherokee, one of Jeep's most legendary vehicles. The styling was controversial, especially on the very conservative Australian market. You could say it sort of looked like a mix between a Jeep Wrangler and a Chrysler PT Cruiser. And personally, I really like the look of the KJ. It was built in a time where retro-futurist styling, as it is now known, was popular, and a lot of this styling was also seen on other Chrysler products of the era, like the PT Cruiser, the Jeep Wrangler TJ, the Plymouth Prowler, and the Chrysler Crossfire. Later cars, like the JK Wrangler and the Jeep Patriot, look to have taken a lot of the styling cues from the KJ. In Australia, the Jeep KJ was sold with 3 different motors. The most common was the 3.7 litre petrol PowerTech V6 built in Detroit, which made 155 kilowatt and 312 Newton meters of torque. It was based off the PowerTech V8 used in the WJ Grand Cherokee, but with 2 cylinders removed. It had a cast iron block with 2 aluminium heads, each being single overhead cam. It used a balance shaft to compensate for any imbalances due to being a cut down 90-degree V8, similar to the Buick 3.8 litre used in many Commodores over the years. This motor was also used in the Grand Cherokee, the Commander, and the Dodge Nitro and Dodge Ram. This motor was only available with a 4-speed auto trans in Australian KJs. There was also a less common diesel model which used a 2.5 litre VM 4-cylinder turbo diesel motor, making 105 kilowatt and 343 Newton meters of torque, which was later increased to a 2.8 litre. This motor was also used in the Holden Colorado and Colorado 7. Now, could you imagine what people would think if someone built a coil rear short wheelbase Colorado 7? That is a very similar concept to the diesel KJ. The diesel KJs had a 5-speed and later a 6-speed manual trans, as well as a 4-speed and later a 5-speed auto. When it comes to the diesels, the 2.5 is said to be more reliable than the 2.8 litre. There was also a 2.4 litre petrol 4-cylinder, dual overhead cam, making 108 kilowatt and 215 Newton meters of torque. But not too many of these were sold in Australia. It was the same motor that was used in the Chrysler PT Cruiser and the Neon. Unfortunately, the KJ never got the turbocharged version of the 2.4 that was used in the SRT4 Neon and the PT GT, but it would be really cool to see a boosted 2.4 litre KJ built. Surely someone out there's done it. These 2.4 litre KJs were only available with manual transmissions on the Australian market, a 5-speed or a 6-speed. The Jeep KJ was the first Jeep to have rack and pinion steering, and it was also the first Jeep to have independent front suspension since the Kaiser Jeep Wagoneer. The KJ has a split tailgate with a frameless glass window. One cool trick about the KJ is if you only want to open the glass hatch, all you need to do is very lightly pull on the tailgate handle, and if you pull it with a regular amount of force, both the glass and the door will open. The rear door is hinged on the left side of the car as it was originally built for left-hand drive markets, particularly the US market, so it would open towards the verge rather than the road, but was left like this on the Australian market KJ, probably to save costs, as well as the bonnet latch, which is on the passenger side footwell. But these are both very minor issues that you get used to quickly. All Australian KJs got a limited slip Chrysler 8.25 rear end, a standard, and a Dana 30 up front. There are 3 trim levels available on the KJ in Australia. The Sport, which this one is, which has unpainted plastic flares. It also has a 6-stacker CD player, which is a pretty impressive feature for a base model. The Renegade, which was an off-road package, and also had alloy wheels. And the Limited, which was a top-end luxury model. It had body-coloured flares, chrome alloy wheels, and a leather interior. There was an update in 2005 where it received a new front bumper and grille, and also a different centre console. In my opinion, the KJ is a very nice car to drive on the highway and on the road. A lot nicer than the XJ. However, off-road it is nowhere near as capable as the XJ it replaced, but it's still pretty capable four-wheel drive, and the XJ did set the bar pretty high. A lot of people think that the KJ was the first not a real Jeep, in quotes, Jeep, due to being a lot more like a Hilux or a Navara in terms of chassis and drivetrain, unlike an XJ or WJ, which had a solid front diff and a steering box, which were far superior off-road. So compared with other Jeep models of the era, the KJ was not so good as a four-wheel drive. But if you were to compare it as a four-wheel drive against other Japanese four-wheel drives of the era, which are very common in Australia, only a few would be more capable off-road than the KJ, some of which being the Suzuki Jimny and the Nissan Patrol GU. The KJ, at least the diesel one, is pretty good for towing too. KJs sold okay in Australia, but they were never common. There are still a fair few around on the roads, but you wouldn't see them every day, but you would probably see them at least once a week. Jeeps in general have a bad reputation in Australia, and the KJ even more so, as it is thought of as not a true Jeep among some Jeep enthusiasts. It was replaced by the Jeep Liberty KK in 2008, which shared most of its parts with the Dodge Nitro. Jeep Cherokee KJ, 0 to 60 mile an hour or 0 to 100 k an hour. Okay, here's an interesting article on the Jeep Varsity, which was a concept which later led to the Jeep Compass, but I thought it might be interesting because this is a similar idea to Liberty. I've got this newspaper article that came out in 2000, and for whatever reason I kept it for so long. But this was sort of about the Jeep brand going towards the more soft-roader versions rather than the real like full-time real four-wheel drive with solid diffs like the WJ right there. It's pretty cool to see this. I just thought I'd add it in the end of the video. But yeah, just Australian history, automotive history from back in the day. 316i when that was new, X5, Audi A8. Back these days, I'm getting distracted anyway. Yeah, there's the article on the Jeep Varsity, and basically, you can pause it here if you want to read it. Basically, it's talking about the guy who was in charge of Daimler Cars at the time was like, no, all the Jeeps are going to be trail rated, and eventually they did end up bringing this two-wheel drive Jeep out as the Compass. Well, this was what the Compass idea was based off, and it was sort of like to get into the SUV era. And back in the day, people didn't like it because it was not a real Jeep and it was just a fad. But that fad seems to have continued, the fad of the SUV. But yeah, that's pretty 2000s. Can't really get much more 2000s than that ad. Body kit Lancer and a good looking girl. Jeep Varsity. November 16 or 18, 2000. Just while I'm on here, just check out these prices. EF Falcon for 14 grand. Daihatsu Charade, you do not see those at all anymore. What's that, an EB Falcon, 91. Vectra, the black bumpers, TF Magna. Lexan, which is a VS Commodore, but that looks to be the Lexan front. Or is it a Commodore front? Can't tell. Jackaroo. Hiace. Oh, Holden Suburbans. These are rare as hell now. They were based off the Chev Suburban. And all they changed was the Holden badge. 6.5 litre turbo diesel. Pretty rare. EL. VT. VT S-Pack, VT Chloe, John Hughes. He's the biggest car dealer in the Southern Hemisphere, which is in Perth, Western Australia. Mazda 121s, they were everywhere. Ford Fiesta, they used to be everywhere too. Hyundai Elantra wagon, I have not seen a wagon of those. A Daewoo Nubira wagon, I haven't seen one of those for even longer. Sonata VT, Mitsubishi Nimbus, they're all gone. Vectra 626, Civic, Daewoo Leganza, they're all gone. Daihatsu Sirian, Excel, still plenty of those around. MX-5, also known as the Miata. ARX-6, this was manual too. Stato, Ferrata, AU, that would have been a brand new car, the AU Falcon. Celica, they're all gone. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Cheers for watching this video.